Today's Friday, it's the 3rd of February 2023, and I'm back down in Palma just to have a look to see what progress has been made with all the work that's going on the Paseo Marítimo. And I'm starting more or less at the Porta P end. I've just actually been in Porta P with Anita. She's gone off to a gym class, and I've just come outside. Got a good viewing position here, can see the work that's going on inside Club de Mar. Club de Mar pretty much has been demolished. Lots of things knocked down, lots of work going on, cranes all over the place. But in the distance you might see that we do have a cruise ship in, and that's actually continued all through the winter. The cruise ships have been calling in. It's one of the big ones. I can't actually see which one it is, but it's quite a big one here. And lots of boats, of course, in Club de Mar, as there always is. The main thing I've come to have a look at really is what's going on the Paseo Marítimo. The Paseo Marítimo, the road that goes along the front in Palma, is undergoing a fantastic, an incredible makeover. It's going to be changed completely, and the work is, well, it really has started. So what they've done at the moment is they've closed the two lanes that were nearest to the land side, and they've moved those to the seaside. So we've now got 4 lanes on the seaside, 2 going east and 2 going west. And my experience of it, we've only driven along it once, and that was on a quiet day on a Sunday, and it really didn't make any difference to us. And just looking at the traffic on there, it seems to be flowing quite well, so they seem to have got something right. I'm just seeing buses coming along and trying to stop. That could cause a bit of an issue, but pretty much it all seems to be working okay. So I'm going to have a walk along into Palma while Anita has her gym class, and we'll just see how it goes. I made my way down now to the Paseo level, and one thing that we noticed when we were down here before was there's all of this metal fencing, and it wasn't actually clear at the time what the metal fencing was all about. Well, now it is clear. It's to keep the pedestrians pretty much away from all the works that's going on. So I'm actually going to walk with fences on either side of me, but you can see piles and piles of infrastructure that's going to be put underneath the road. So, going to be a big job, and it's going to go on for some time. It's not clear how they're going to manage this. Obviously during the summer months they don't really want this to be here, but whether they're going to carry on or not, we'll have to wait and see. These silver things here, these are the rubbish bins. They've all been sealed up, so they're no longer being used. And I'm just going to cross the road again. I'm being controlled where I can actually go because of the metal fences. Looks like parking shouldn't be done here. So what that means as well is if you're a pedestrian, you can only actually cross the road now at the designated crossing spaces, which I suppose is much safer than trying to cross elsewhere. But it's quite astounding the amount of work that's going on. It's my intention to come down fairly regularly just to keep an eye on what's going on here. Going to stop here a second and just have a look at the quite magnificent bronze there, which is a Romanian scientist, Emil G. Racovica, and he is a founder of biospeology. I guess that's something to do with caves in Majorca, and that was in 1904, and the foundation, the European Foundation Dragan. Always something interesting around here. So just adjacent to the work that's going on is Can Barbara, and that's quite a nice little marina for smaller boats. All very quiet and tranquil at the moment. And there's one or two bars and cafes in that area, the Can Barbara area, that open up a little bit later on, and then some of them will open up as the season progresses. I don't know if you can see just how clear the water is here. You can see the bottom quite clearly, see the anchorages for the boats. And this area is surrounded by apartments. These are all private apartments. Our friend years ago, Lou Ravel, used to have a gym over there, and he rented the building, and the owners decided they wanted it back. They knocked it down, and 20 years later it's still a derelict site. Probably more than 20 years, in fact. So effectively there's 4 lanes that have disappeared on this side. One of them was for parking, and so there were 3 lanes of moving traffic. Further up, that was reduced to 2 lanes because one of the lanes was then used for the bars to extend their terrace. And that pretty much is the plan, really, is to make it much more of a place for people to walk, stop off in bars, under the shade of trees, and enjoy the Paseo Marítimo. So yes, they are trying to cut down the number of cars. As we walk along here, I'm sure you can't see this in the video, but in the distance I can see the mountains, and we have snow on the top of the mountains. 3rd of February 2023. We always have snow at some time of the year on the mountains. This year we've had a lot of snow, and so much snow that some adventurers have actually gone up there, taken the skis with them or the snowboards, and videoed themselves skiing in Majorca. That doesn't happen very often, but it's happened this year. And the snow is still there. In fact, the weather forecast just the other day was talking about snow on snow. So we're expecting some more snow to be dumped upon the snow that was already there. So just looking over Can Barbara again. Lots of apartments there, but I'm just noticing some houses as well, which really must be the old originals that were there. And just above that, on the hillside there, is Nazareth. Nazareth is a foundation run by the Catholic Church here in Majorca, and they own all of that land that is covered by trees. But the main thing that they are known for in the area up there is they have a home for children who, for whatever reason, can't be with their parents, or in a very few cases don't have parents, so the orphanage in effect. Most of them are not orphans, most of them are children who've got other issues at home. And it all works really well, and the children are quite well catered for there. It's a foundation. It's actually a money-making foundation as well. They do have a print works, so some of the older children there who actually get to working sort of age are working in the printing work, I think, and there is sort of a professional print company that works out of there, and they do things like business cards and flyers and advertising things, any general printing that you might need. But it's all behind these railings and up on the hill. and they've got some lovely grounds. In the past I have visited, and when I was at the school, each year made a donation to the Nazareth Foundation. So there's a sign here, the Gardens of Nazareth. Doesn't look as though they're open today, so on another occasion, or maybe they are. Yeah. On another occasion we'll actually go up and have a look through there. What amuses me, or that has amused me in the past, is that this derelict site here is also part of the grounds of Nazareth. It's owned by the church and was actually at one time leased out to Pacha and various other nightclub. The two things seem to go hand in hand, the church and the nightclubs. But for years that's exactly what it was. Now it's a derelict mess, covered in graffiti, and I think the church decided that having a nightclub in their garden was not really the image they wanted to be spreading about, so the lease was terminated and Pacha was no longer there. For a time, Pacha did open in Palma Nova, San Caliu, and I'm not sure how successful it was because it didn't really last too long. Now the area opens out a little bit. We've got more residential apartments, and they unfortunately have got 18 months, 2 years of work going on in front of them, so I'm guessing they're not going to be too pleased about that. But on the other hand, prices of these, or the value, the estimated value, has skyrocketed, and so might not be pleased about the work, but I'm sure they'll be pleased about the value of their property, which has increased so much. And once this is all done, it is going to be beautiful. It's going to be really pretty around here. So I think everyone will be happy in the end. Now we get to the noisy area where the bulldozers are working away, and businesses along here, of course, they've got problems because clients find it difficult to get to them, and actually working in these conditions can't really be that easy. I think I'm going to go over towards the boat side. There is actually a crossing point here. They seem to be few and far between, so I'll take advantage of them while they're there. Apparently the old traffic light system is going to continue to work. That's what they've said anyway. So I should be able to cross the road here. See workers digging big holes in the ground. And now I've just got to wait for the red man to turn green before I cross over. Just see in the distance one of the ferries that goes between Majorca and the mainland. That's just set off, and they've got a blessing of calm seas at the moment. Busy old road today, but the traffic is moving pretty steadily. green man, away we go.
Coge 24 como máximo.
So one of the issues that they've had by moving all the traffic to this side is that a lot of parking spaces have disappeared, and so what they've actually done is to remove the cycle track on this side and turn it back into parking spaces. So this always used to be parking spaces, and so we now have parking spaces on this side of the road again, and they've renewed the cycle track on where it used to be. So this all got painted out and became part of the promenade, and now it's cycle track again. So we've more or less gone back to exactly where we were a year or so ago, 2 years ago. So hopefully leaving much of the noise of the machinery that's happening across the road. One thing I can see over there, I'll just put the camera up, see if you can see this, is that a lot of the locals, residents, are really annoyed by the fact that trees are being taken down. And I can see here several quite large palm trees that have been cut down. Now, they can't be replaced, they can't be replanted anywhere, they've just been destroyed. They've been just cut up into small logs so they can be loaded into a truck. And so you can imagine, I can understand that the people who land here are not so happy with that. What the government have said is that the trees will be replaced, and not only that, a lot more will be planted in their place, and not all palm trees, but a little bit of a variety of trees. We have had a problem over the past few years with the palm trees, with a beetle that invades and destroys them. So a lot of the palm trees that were here have had to be taken down because they were invaded by this beetle. I've not heard about that for a while, so I'm hoping that that's all been sorted out. And from time to time they have to come and just cut off some of these branches. You can see here that that's really quite an issue. Almost looks as though they've done it fairly recently, but it needs to be done again. And there's also remove all of these dates that are growing on there. Unfortunately, they're not edible. We don't quite have the climate for dates, but if we did, there's a huge number of them on these trees, and you can imagine the weight of that pulling down on the tree. So they will be removed, they'll be taken away, and the trees will be trimmed, I guess, fairly soon. I think it's the time of year to do that sort of thing. It does seem from a resident's point of view that Mallorca's got itself into gear at last in getting some of the jobs done that need to be done. So this Paseo Martimo job is just one of them. The Auditorium, the hospital, is another. The old barracks that's going to be turned into accommodation is another. One that I have a soft spot for is the old Louis Sitjar football stadium, which has been left derelict for a long time. I went along a few months ago when they repainted the sign, made it look looked a little bit like something, but that's not what needs to be done. The whole thing needs to be regenerated and at the moment that's on the pipeline. Problem in Mallorca quite often is the people that own these places have to all agree, and with something like Lewis Sitjar, it's lots of different people that have shares in it, and you need to get a sufficient majority in order to move ahead, and that seems to have taken a long time, but as far as I know it's happened now, and we should start to see some progress. So that's another place I need to go back to have a look. As you can see from the promenade, actually, it's the work may be a bit annoying as far as the noise is concerned, but from a walker's concern, from the boats really, it's not too bad. Even from the cyclists, it's not too bad. In fact, I probably think for them, they probably think it's probably safer and better to have it away from the road. And there are some parking spaces, though a lot of parking spaces just down here have been lost. So let me just point out across the road, get a different perspective from here. What we're looking at is Tito's. Tito's used to be the in place to be in the 1960s, 70s, one of the great places where brilliant acts used to come and entertain, overlooking the Mediterranean, overlooking the Bay of Palma. It became then a nightclub and continued to be successful, but it's now actually just been torn down. It's been sold, might have been sold a couple of times, but it's been sold now, and it's going to be in the hands of Pacha, I mentioned earlier, because they had a place further down the road, and Pacha are going to turn it into one of their new venues. It's going to be called Leo. I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it. It's L-I-O, and lots of work going on there. So I will actually, as we go by, keep updating us on what's actually going on at Tito's or Leo's as we progress. But very busy. You can see all the inside there. People working at all different levels. It's going to have quite a dining experience. They've got a Michelin star chef coming to look after the catering side of things. It's going to have a nightclub for up to 700 people, the dining for up to 300 people, so it's going to be quite a place. So we'll keep our eye on it and have a look, see what's going on. Just move along. It's just coming up to about 11:30 on a Friday morning. A lot of these scooters now, these electric scooters, a lot of electric bikes. So all the bikes that we're seeing are not all just ordinary pedal bikes. Some of them have got a little bit of assistance to them. Looking at the boats now as I'm walking along, people out repairing and painting, but we have a port full of boats of all sizes actually, and just in the distance I can see a couple of kayakers there. This is a nice stretch of calm water for them to practice their sport. And we are back to blue skies again. Blue skies and gentle breezes. Just going to go across the road. Not across the road, just across the pedestrian part here, and just see the amount of work that's going on the Paseo Martimo. It's really quite something. And all of that has happened well, since Christmas, probably middle of January actually, so great to see them actually getting down to doing the job. I'm sure that what they want to do is to get all of that done so that the hotels and the bars and the restaurants that are along the front there can open up as early as possible in the season with something that looks really quite respectable in front of them. And I imagine that many of them have just decided to shut up shop for a moment. Can't be much fun having all that in front of you, and I guess they're not going to get too many clients either. What I don't know is whether there's been any talk of compensation for them. At least in my opinion, they shouldn't be having to pay business rates during the work which is preventing them to operate their business, at the very least. Looks as though on that side as well there's a apartment block undergoing a renovation as well. Good that they're actually taking the opportunity to do it while the other work is taking place. Now hopefully these palm trees, which are mostly looking reasonably healthy, these will not need to be removed and can form the basis of the new park area that's going to be constructed on this side of the road. My guess is that that work perhaps won't start until after the summer. I think this side they've got to wait until the summer season's finished. But you never know with the local government around here. I did a video yesterday where I was walking from Palma towards Puerto Portales. I didn't actually make it to Puerto Portales, but just to the beach in Cathedral. And right at the beginning of the walk, I was on the walkway at the back of Palma Nova. Two cyclists came whizzing past me really fast. And well, I didn't actually know about them until they'd gone past me, but if I'd have moved from one side or the other, I could very easily have been knocked down. They do seem to move very, very quickly in what is a pedestrian area as well. We share the area, and on that particular walkway there is no demarcation that separates them, the cyclists from the walkers. Here at least we do. So I am in the pedestrian area, so I should be safe. Let's hope. Let's see the tour boats out, getting the spring clean, ready for the season. I'm not sure any of the tourist buses are actually running at this time of the year. And just while we're here, just looking across the road, that's the Palma Auditorium. Anita was there last night. It's where the orchestra perform. Usually once a month, sometimes more frequently, sometimes less frequently. But she was there last night, and it was Mozart. So Anita went with her friend Barbara, and they enjoyed Mozart's 40th, which is probably one of his most famous symphonies. Made very famous in the 1970s, I think it was, and it got quite high in the pop charts. And then the second half was a mass, one of the Mozart masses, and she seemed to come back very happy with what she'd seen. The orchestra really is quite amazing, and so they performed there on the Thursday, and then tonight, Friday, they're off to Monaco to do the same performance. Something I really enjoy doing. Unfortunately, the concerts are normally on a Thursday, not always, but normally on a Thursday, and that's my lodge night, so I have to give them a miss usually. Nice to see lots of people out walking. It is a perfect day. There's a light breeze, warm sunshine. I think we just need somewhere now to stop for a coffee. Just see the buses now going past. News from the bus front. A couple of things really. First of all, next week masks will no longer be required on buses. I did see a poll in the newspaper asking people will they still wear masks, and 50% said yes, 50% said no, so it was fairly evenly matched. For myself, the problem I have is if I put a mask on, I can't see because my glasses steam up. Solution to that is I rub a little bit of washing up liquid into the lenses and just wipe it off, and they don't steam up. Unfortunately, I usually forget to do that. I get on the bus and I can't see anything, or on the train. So probably I will not be wearing a mask, but that's my choice. The other news, more exciting for me, is that the bus companies in Palma is actually purchasing some brand new buses from Poland. These are buses that are going to be constructed in Poland. And the special thing about them is that the fuel is hydrogen. So they're not petrol or diesel, which is what they would normally be, and some of them run on gas here, some run on natural gas. These are going to be running on hydrogen, and it's not only hydrogen, it's going to be green hydrogen. Doesn't sound right, does it? Hydrogen's not green, hydrogen's colourless, but green in the sense that the way that the hydrogen is produced is very clean and not harmful to the environment. It's actually going to be created, and the hydrogen is already being produced on the island. So up in the north part of the island we have a hydrogen plant, one of the biggest, if not the biggest in Europe, which is using solar power to generate electricity, and the electricity is then used to electrolyze water and turn it into hydrogen and oxygen. And therefore it is completely green. No pollution whatsoever. And the buses, when they come into operation, they will not be producing any pollution because the only byproduct is water. I need to read a little bit more, but I think these are going to be electric buses using fuel cells. At least that's what I'm hoping. But we need to check that out and read a little bit more about them. That was just in the newspaper this morning. I've been walking for quite a while now, still along the far side of the road there. Still lots of work going on. We're getting close, I think, to the end of that work. So actually here, at this point, in order to widen the road so that they can get 2 lanes on each side, they've actually taken the pavement away. So there is no pavement just here. There's always been a pavement in the past, but there isn't one at the moment. It's another part of the port where we've got small boats like we saw in Canberra. Many of these are the traditional yachts, little boats used for day trips and fishing. Just looking up and still see they've got some of the Christmas lights on. Time to take those down. Celebrations now have that sort of all finished. San Sebastian was the one that terminated the celebrations here in Palma. And they got extended actually by a week and a bit, finishing with a Correfoc. And if you haven't seen the Correfoc video, it's one you should have a look at. It is exciting, at least I found it exciting. It's a firework display, not quite like the ones you would normally expect. It's not particularly things up in the sky, like rockets and things. It is pretty much all down on the ground and at eye level, in fact. And you're not encouraged to stand back. You're encouraged, if anything, to join in with the performance. And it gets really quite scary, but lots of fun. And it went on for more than, I guess, about 2 hours, maybe more than 2 hours, and was really something else. I've cut the video down so you haven't got to sit through 2 hours, but if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend it. It's really good fun. And the Correfoc that we have here in Palma, they have more than one. We had another one in Parc de Mar last year, and this one as part of San Sebastian. It's when the demons come out. And so we've got all the demons with their fireworks and pushing and shoving you, really quite literally shoving you out of the way when the little chariots come along with dragons blazing fire and brimstone. and you get a number of people a number of these demons who are actually breathing fire, flamethrowers. Really quite an exciting occasion. Not sure Anita liked it, not sure Anita had a lot of fun, but I certainly did. And a good thing on a winter's night. On a summer's night, I'm not so sure, because you do really need to cover up as the sparks are flying. Stop for a second because I have been criticised. I don't get a lot of criticism, but I've been criticised for not complaining about the graffiti and across the road. I can see quite a lot of horrible graffiti, and that needs to go. Particularly as behind it, there's some really quite splendid buildings. There's a lovely church there, and another building which I'm not quite so sure what that one is. Carry on now, coming towards the end of the Marina, and so where we started is referred to as Club de Mar, and on this side we have the Royal Yacht Club, Royal Club Nautico de Palma, and then beyond that we have the boatyards, where the repairs are carried out on boats of all sizes, and I can see in the distance some quite big boats that are out of the water, and they're probably out of the water. Some of them are out for a respray. When they do that, they cannot have any wind or breeze or dust, so they enclose them completely in plastic and put them into a big tent, so that there's no breeze, no dust, and we actually come across a company that were doing that, wrapping these boats, huge boats, in plastic so that they could be resprayed safely without them being affected by the wind or affected by any dust that might be in the atmosphere. What an amazing business. And as we get further along, of course, we get closer and closer to our magnificent cathedral. And I missed it again this year, but one day I will get to see the spectacle when the light passes through the rose window and shines on the opposite wall. But you have to be up early and you have to go on the right day. So 11th of November, I believe, is the next one. So I should put that in my diary, shouldn't I? But it probably means getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning or before, and getting down into Palma to witness the sight. And of course, it only happens if there's a clear sky. This year, beautiful clear skies, so beautiful sunrise, beautiful sunset, and this magnificent spectacle. Usually there's boats all the way along here, and it looks, well, either the boats are out, which I doubt, or people have taken them out of the water just for the winter months, which probably would make more sense. And I did read about someone on the outskirts of Palma who actually took their boat out of the water and put it on the, I think it was the 3rd or 4th floor apartment balcony. So they have a big crane outside and they put the boat on the balcony. I'm not sure that was a good idea. Not sure how strong these balconies are, whether they can actually take the weight. And obviously the neighbours were a little bit concerned, particularly with it being so high up. a lot of boats out of the water there. That way they can do any of the bottom scraping that they need to do from time to time. Ducks in the water here. And this will actually be fresh water. This is a river that runs through Palma. Sometimes there's no water in the river. In the height of the summer there might not be very much water, but we do have quite a bit of water now because we've had a lot of rain and well, the snow's melting. See, now we've got the pavement back, sidewalk.
So 1,000 from here, another 22 men.
Now we can cross. Just the park in front as I'm crossing the road here is called Safashina. Used to be very popular with the skateboarders of the island. I'm sure it still is. Up to Safashina or carry on along the Paseo Martimo. Well, that was my objective today, was to come along the Paseo Marítimo. We're just going over one of the bridges which has the river, and there's not a huge amount of water coming down, but there is a little bit of water, so there's a steady flow coming over those little waterfalls that they have up there. I'm going to move on now, heading towards the cathedral. And now you can see the work stopped, so this area isn't destined for much of a change, at least not yet. Who knows what's to come in the future, but it's all behind us now, the work area. The area we're coming to is referred to as La Lonja, and it's where the fishing port is. So the boats on the right hand side as we go along now are the trawlers that bring in the fresh fish each day, and then in the buildings on the opposite side of the road here they're auctioned off very early in the morning. So if you want to be getting your very fresh fish, you need to be down here at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning in order to be part of the auction. I'm not sure that it is actually open to the public, but I'm not open to the public for purchasing. Certainly we've been there, Anita and I have been there. Anita is always the adventurous one, has taken school groups there, so she's managed to persuade a whole class load of parents to bring their children along at 5 o'clock in the morning so that they could witness the fish being auctioned, and then they would watch the auction which is all over and done with by, I don't know, 8 o'clock for sure. And then we would take the children along towards the cathedral, and they would have their breakfast in Parc de Mar. And then for the rest of the morning we would go and see some other sites, maybe the cathedral or some other interesting buildings or things in Palma. So yeah, all good fun. So I did say a little bit behind there that the Christmas decorations were still up. There's no Christmas decorations here, and there was over Christmas, so they have actually started to remove them. So it's a sign we're getting into a little bit of normality. Normality doesn't last very long in Mallorca though. We're into February, and February starts with Carnival, so celebrations from around about, well, at least sometime next week actually, and may go on for a week or so or more depending on where you are on the island. And it is quite a celebration here in Majorca, Carnival. So we'll be getting out and having a look to see how the different areas celebrate, and hopefully they don't all happen on the same day. Seems to be quite a few tourists around, people having their photographs taken and taking photographs of the interesting buildings. And there's Ruben Dario. I'm going to move on, continuing towards the cathedral. So La Lonca is all of this area, and this is on the left is the old La Lonca. Lots of nice restaurants and bars in amongst all of that. And certainly in the summertime it's a place that buzzes. I'm not sure how many bells there were there, but it's actually 12 o'clock. The clock on the clock tower says 12 o'clock.
¿A ti que me lo estás diciendo?
The area of La Lonja, you can see in front there's lots of bars here, lots of tapas type bars. This building here is really quite beautiful inside, it's a bit dark. And they sometimes have exhibitions. Doesn't seem to be anything today, it's just the building. I'm going to actually walk down the little side street here, which does get very busy during the summer months, but I'm guessing it's going to be fairly quiet for me today. But it's away from the road, and it's in the shade, and some interesting sort of looking buildings here. And the bars along here, really nice places, not open now. And we have all sorts of different nationalities. So we've gone past Italian, tapas, and it wouldn't be the same without a pub serving Guinness. Palma is full of these little back streets. So another one. And what it said in the paper that many of the hotels, and majority of hotels in Palma, are actually open during the winter months. So I'm guessing a lot of these bars might still be open as well. And more graffiti. More graffiti. There's a sign above asking for silence. People do actually live here, and this is one of the complaints that it can get very noisy. Here we are in Plaza de la Arena. And that's one of the, just from Plaza de la Arena, this road here is called Apuntadores, and another one with lots of bars and cafes and tapas. Really quite an interesting street to walk down. Tonight, Friday night, I'm sure will be a good night down there. On the corner, the lottery. There's the buses, there's one going off to the aquarium. Well, I've had a lovely walk along the Paseo Martimo right into Palma. I'm very close to the Cathedral now, and I'm going to find myself a coffee, and then I'm going to catch the bus home, and I've remembered to bring a mask. do need them for the next few days. Thanks very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.